Hey y'all, it's your girl D back with another book review. This is about the psychology of money. So, The Psychology of Money is a finance book written by Morgan Housel. The premise for the book is behavioral psychology. Basically, he's talking about the behavioral aspect of finance and why people do the things they do regarding money, regarding their finances, and all of that. So it's a very short read. An audiobook on the audiobook, it's about 5 hours. The author gives a lot of examples about the behavioral aspects that influence people's money decisions and why some people are successful and why some people are not successful. But what stood out to me was that he gives examples of these individuals. The first example that he had was based off of greed versus patience. So there was a gentleman, Ronald Reed, who he had a modest job. He wasn't like a CEO or anything. He wasn't in like, a big time position, as like we all think we need a big time position with, the six figures to build wealth. And Ronald Reed ended up with, a nice net worth upon his death. He ended up being a philanthropist and all of these things, only because he was patient with his money. He chose to invest and use his money, save, all of those good things. Richard Foscone, I think it's Richard Foscone, was a business person. He made a lot of financial mistakes, and with the unpredictability of the market, he ended up in ruin as a part of that. I don't want to give away all the information, but the premise was that patience and greed can be the downfall when it comes to money. The author, Morgan Housel, goes in to say about how he does not have a mortgage on, or he didn't have a mortgage on his home. They chose to live frugally. The things that they enjoyed were minimal cost. Like behaviorally, I think a lot of us want to keep up with the Joneses. And social media nowadays makes that a big thing. Like we'll see somebody like, okay, for example, somebody with a big time car, or something that you want, like a house. First of all, when we see them on social media, we don't know if that's even their possessions. Like for real. Like people rent stuff, people do Airbnbs, people can do a VRBO, people can even rent other people's car, like on like a Turo, or I know they're probably not renting the like expensive cars, but you never know. People can rent cars. So it's like our imagination makes us think that we should have those things too. So living below your means and not trying to keep up with the Joneses is a very important concept. It's not a new concept, but again, the book reiterates it because there is a behavioral aspect to that. I think we tend to want money fast. Like I know I want money fast. Like I don't want to do a lot, but being greedy about certain things and versus being patient when it comes to investing and understanding actually what you're doing can mean the difference between building wealth and risking it all. So you have to kind of learn to avoid extremes when it comes to investing money, because a lot of us don't have the money to lose. We want to gain money, but we don't have the money to lose. So that's one thing I interpreted from this book. Another thing is the idea of risk versus luck. Like any financial decision can be a major risk, and some financial things can be based off of luck. He uses the example of Bill Gates. The high school that he attended was one of the only high schools to have a computer at the time. So of course, when Bill Gates got into computers, it made sense because he was lucky enough to attend a school that had those resources. So now we see the luck aspect of it. Like if you went to a school that didn't have a computer, you couldn't learn programming. You couldn't learn how to build software. So it's like that is purely just luck right there. I think I also really like this point of money being emotional. I know this for a fact. I know a lot of us during, like, okay, for example, you know, when you're stressed, you might go online and do some online shopping. That affects your finances because you know you don't have the money in your bank account. Like, especially as a college student, I remember that, like, doing that, like being in the dorm and being like alone and kind of sad and like, or you know, on your cycle or whatever, and just wanting to go online shopping, and it's like, girl, you don't have the money for that. So money can be emotional in that sense, where sometimes people overspend because of their emotions or mental health or things like that. There's a lot of psychological things that go on when we deal with money. And pretty much, I think the final takeaway is like money kind of rules the world, especially this modern society. If you don't have money, you are limited in what you can do, right? Like, a lot of us like to travel. A lot of us would love to, you know, be able to take a month off of work, or, you know, not have to work for an extended period. But because we need money to support ourselves, we don't have that luxury. And Morgan Housel goes on to say, like, when it comes to money and our financial decisions, we try to have some semblance of control over that, right? Like, we like the illusion of control. Finance is not even a hard science, essentially. Finance is based on predictions of the past, analysis, current analysis of, you know, but the world is unpredictable. Nobody would have predicted like the financial crises that we experienced in what is it, the 2000s in America, you know, or for example, with everything that happened in 2020. Did we predict a lot of us would be out of jobs? We did not predict that. So the world is unpredictable, and the financial markets tend to go with the unpredictability of the world. So given that, we really don't have control over, you know, these things. Again, it goes back to a lot of things are risk or luck. So, you know, you just got to pick your poison. So what do I think of this book? Would I recommend it? Absolutely. This book I would give like a 4.5 out of 5. I really like the concepts and how the author presented the material. The book is an easy read if you actually do buy the physical book. I did the audiobook. I do like an audiobook, but it's a very easy book to digest. He gives examples of real world examples of what can happen when you make risk or when you do the opposite. So I find this book to be very useful. I will apply some of the concepts that I learned from this book, especially getting back to living below my means. Again, that's not a new concept, but sometimes it's just how it's presented. And I think this book does a good job of just breaking it down like raw and not sugarcoating anything. You know, not trying to conceal it as some kind of secret, or, you know, how you're gonna gain financial success from reading this book. No, the basis of the book is basically the main thing is you got to do what works for you, and that's basically what I took away from this whole reading. Regardless of the material that the author put in there, it's basically you got to find what works for you when it comes to your own finances, because we all have different needs as people. So we got to do what works for us. And that's, y'all stay tuned for the next one. I'm gonna have a little bit longer of a review for the next book that I'm reading. I'm reading Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand, and that is a beast. So give me some grace when it comes to that particular book. It might take me a month to get through it because it is like very fine print and it's 1,000 pages. I have both the audiobook and I have the physical copy of the book. So I'm gonna try to get through that by the end of October, and I'll get back to y'all on that. So peace, one love, bye.